All right, we're live. It's the big show. How you doing, everybody? It's your buddy Bruce on Traveling with Bruce. Welcome one, welcome all to the big show here for Monday, June the 27th, 2022. I am coming to you live from Zermatt, Switzerland. And you're saying, Zermatt, Switzerland, where the heck is Zermatt, Bruce? Where are you now? Let me show you where we are located. I happen to have a map here. Let me check to show you. Check this out. Okay, Switzerland. If you look at the very bottom, just off the center, it says Zermatt, Zermatt. That is where we are right now in Switzerland. Last week, we were in Lugano, just to the right, also in the very bottom of Switzerland. We were at the southern end of Switzerland, and just below us is Italy, and just next door to us here in Zermatt is the Matterhorn, the big mountain, the Matterhorn. And this is one beautiful, beautiful place. To get here, we went from Lugano. To get here, we couldn't just go across. We had to go all the way up to Zurich. That took an hour and 50 minutes, high-speed train. Gorgeous, first class, no problem. And then from Zurich back down to within about an hour of here, and we had to transfer to another train that's a mountain train that takes you up, up, up. And here we are at 5,200 feet elevation in Zermatt. No cars allowed in Zermatt. That's the thing about this region. No cars allowed. So I'll show you. These are the vehicles that you can hire. These are the cabs in Zermatt. These are electric taxis. Quite amazing. See if I can zoom in on one here. There we go. They're about 5.5 feet tall, 6 feet tall. And those are what you can rent here in Zermatt to get around. They do not allow vehicles here with combustible engines. No can do. Interesting. Just out of town is this guy right here. That is, I believe that's the Matterhorn, if I'm not mistaken. Normally that's covered in the cloud. And this was shot yesterday, and I can tell you that right now it's covered in cloud because outside it is pouring out. We've got a rain shower going on outside. They've been threatening all day for this shower to hit us. And let me show you, if I can, a little video here. Yeah, let's see if I can do this. This is a video here of downtown Zermatt. That is the rail station right there. And you go in there. Here is the little square around it. And there's this little cabin up there. I don't know how anyone got up there. How did you even build it is what I was wondering about too. Anyway, beautiful area here, clear air, absolutely gorgeous. Everyone on foot, quiet, and just fantastic. Love these alpine-looking buildings. Fabulous. Yesterday in the morning, I took this video here. This is a video with the sound, church bells ringing in the background. And this is the view from our balcony when it's sunny out with these alpine apartments across the way from us. And a number of these apartments are held by foreigners, out-of-towners, skiers in the wintertime, hikers in the summertime. Other cabins in there or apartments are full-time residents. There's about 5,000 people that live here, and about 25,000 at a time are here, tourists. Tourists keep this town going without any question whatsoever. Zermatt in Switzerland. Excuse me, it is beautiful. It's expensive, but I got to tell you, it's a one of a kind. It really is a unique place. This town reminds me a lot about Alberta in Canada, except that in Alberta, you can drive in with your car. There are all kinds of delivery trucks everywhere. And there are probably 10 to 12,000 people living there and 30 to 40,000 tourists. So it's like 30, 40, 50,000 people are in there at the height of the summer. It's very hectic. We're here, this place, with all the foot traffic and no cars. It is a difference maker, and it is very delightful, absolutely delightful. Restaurants everywhere, including a McDonald's. Grocery stores here for the locals and for anybody else. And we just pick up I pick up my cola here and have a fridge in the hotel room, and it's all good. I don't know if you can hear the racket being made, but the rain is pouring down on our banister outside right now, and it is just coming down. Anyway, welcome all of you to the channel. Glad that you could join me on short notice today. Ken Kareka is here. I, Bruce, and Jen from Saginaw. The temperature is 69 degrees where they are, and it is cloudy. Gasoline is $5 a gallon. All at $4.99. We're glad we went on the NCL Sun May 31st rather than the current cruise. We're number 4, Janet and Ken, because the current cruise hit an iceberg. I have news about that. Kirk Brunson is in the house. Hello there, Kirk from New York City is here. He's at work. He's got his YouTube and Facebook channel. Welcome, Kirk. Sharon is here. Hi, Bruce. Long time no see. Hi, you guys doing? Fingers crossed. Kevin and I should be spending this weekend in Bermuda. There are 2 obstacles. First, getting our pre-travel COVID testing, and then getting our Bermuda travel approval. Hopefully all this is going to work out. Jeannie Lemminghouse is in the house with Bill. Hello, Bruce and TW Beers. Bill and Jeannie are watching from East Tennessee, currently 78 Fahrenheit where they are. Sabine is here. Hello, Sabine. Hello, Bruce. Sabine from Bingen, Germany. Hope you enjoy Switzerland, an amazing country. We've enjoyed the Netherlands. We've enjoyed Germany. We've enjoyed a little bit of Austria, now Switzerland, and we've been to the UK and Scotland. It's been great. Sharon, I've heard that the approval process is wonky at times, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed and hoping for the best. I'll let you know next week how it turns out. Right on, Sharon. I hope this works out for you. I know you've been dying to go. DT Cruiser is in the house. Hello, Bruce. Hey there, pal. How you doing? Sharon, gesundheit to you. Thank you. Sandy Robinson. Hi, Bruce and TW family. I hope you're having a grand time exploring Europe. It's warm and sunny in Medicine Hat, Alberta. I hope it is where you are too. Generally, it is. We were gorgeous sunny weather here this morning. We get these afternoon showers. It's quite all right because here at 5,200 feet, we cool off from the mid-70s to the mid-60s, and it makes for a wonderful night, sleeping very comfortably here, no problem. In Lugano, where we were just until Saturday, it's 92 today and humid. So going out in Lugano is an ordeal. Zurich can get warm too. Zurich can get up into the high 80s and 90s. But here in Zermatt at 5,200 feet, we're not going to get much above the mid 80s, really. That would be a real shocker at this kind of elevation. So yeah, we're enjoying it. The hotel is fantastic. We're at the Schloss Hotel, and we have a pool downstairs, sauna downstairs. Really nice. It's very enjoyable. Sharon, how long will you be in Europe with Jen? We're here for another. We go home 3 weeks yesterday, so 20 more days, and then we fly home out of Zurich, and we'll be back in Canada. And we're now beginning the process to get Jen looked after for her hip. We're likely going to end up getting Jen into a private clinic rather than wait for the 2 to 3 years we're going to have to wait under the health system. And we're going to arrange as quick as we can to get her looked after, because it's become to the point now where Jennifer, if she walks more than 200 feet, she has to stop, and she has to let the pain subside, and she has to get her strength back, and then she can continue on again. So we can't even go out for a leisurely walk for 15, 20, 30 minutes. We can't do that. This is cutting into everything we're about, and it's not acceptable. The deterioration is so fast now that we have to get this looked after. And so we'll take care of it when we get back to Canada in July, August, September. We'll get it started and hopefully get her looked after so that by the time winter rolls around, it's likely, like we had hoped, we crossed our fingers. We were hoping to go to Singapore Australia, and New Zealand this fall. That now is out the window because of Jen has to get looked after. But the hope is, cross our fingers, that by December, we will be back in California, recouping through the winter till next spring, and then we'll figure out what we do next. So lots of things in flux right now for us. Sharon, God willing, we'll be on the Oasis of the Seas when you get back, and all the best to Jen. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. She's hanging in there. She's really enjoying the pool here for hip relief, pain relief. Oh yeah, and we're doing all we can to make it work. She's enjoying the trip. The train rides are just incredible. We've been using these. We've been using a mobile app, the Euro Global Rail Pass. 33 countries we can use this pass. In a 60-day window, we get to use it for 15 days, unlimited travel in any of those 15. And we've done 10 days of unlimited travel so far, and it's been fantastic. First class tickets. The windows are incredible. The views, mind-blowing. We have 5 more days to use the train passes, and we will end up in Zurich when it's all said and done to catch the train back, to catch the plane back to Canada. So yeah, we're getting a lot of fantastic views through train rides, and then in a place like this with the view from that balcony, we love it. We just love it. We have binoculars with us. We notice that as the day goes on, the sun's angle changes all the time, so the view keeps evolving in front of us. It really is spectacular, and we're getting a real kick out of it. It's really, really enjoyable. Now, I have some news for you on travel. The big story today has to do with the Norwegian Sun cruise ship. The Norwegian Sun, the headline says it hit an iceberg in Alaska. The reality is that it did rub up against some ice, and the so-called iceberg is known as a growler, so it's much smaller than a Titanic-type iceberg, but that doesn't make for as good a headline as you can imagine. I mean, iceberg, that's a lot more fun. The ship was supposed to go to Skagway, I think today, and they've canceled their stop in Skagway. The ship is on its way to Juneau in Alaska because they want to get a good look at the hull and any damage suffered by the ship. Now, if there's any kind of a puncture or anything like that, they will likely do a patch-up job to make it more than seaworthy to get the ship through its cruise back to probably Seattle. They might have to, it all depends on damage. They may have to book an emergency dry dock in Portland, near Portland, which they could do if necessary. But I'm not sure if there's any damage really more than scrapes along the hull. But they won't know for sure until they absolutely get there. They're not going to speculate with us. They're not going to tell us anything. They're not going to tell the media a darn thing. They're going to make sure their passengers are safe and sound. And if the ship is deemed to not be seaworthy from Juneau back to Seattle at the time, they may ferry the passengers out either by air, or if they have a second ship in the area that's doing cruises, they might bring it into Juneau and pick up a bunch of the passengers, transfer them onto another ship. I don't know what's going to happen. I suspect that the damage is superficial, and I suspect the cruise will continue on from Juneau back to where it started, and the passengers will disembark, and they might likely just pick up their cruise schedule and keep on sailing without any stoppage at all. Sharon, it's sad that they are skipping Skagway. The Spruce Tip Ale at the Skagway Brewing Company. It's one of my favorite memories of my Alaska cruise. There's some good brews up there. Gotta say, there's some nice beer here in Germany, Austria, and Switzerland. And I've got to say that out of the last 7 days, I've probably had 3 beers in the last 7 days with dinner. and it's delicious. Very, very good, especially on a hot, hot day. I can tell you that in Lugano, Jen and I definitely enjoyed a beer at dinner time without any problem whatsoever. Beautiful, beautiful brew. It flowed easily. The crazy thing about beer in Austria or Switzerland or Germany is that you can get a beer for less than a bottle of Coca-Cola at a restaurant. That is the shocking, bitter reality of it all. You can buy a beer for 4 francs in a Swiss restaurant. Many times you can get one for 4 francs, sometimes five. But a bottle of Coca-Cola that will be 300 milliliters at best is 5 francs. 5 francs. That's $5 for a small bottle of Coca-Cola in a restaurant. It is shocking how ridiculous. And it's not like they are flying them over from Miami into Europe. They're not coming from America, these bottles. They bottle this stuff right here in Switzerland. And I can buy a bottle of cola for $1, 1 franc 10 cents, 1.10. Or if I buy 6 or 12 at a time, I get them for 70 cents each. You know, and I know the restaurants are getting them for 70 cents each, and they're nailing us 5 francs for one bottle of cola. It's unbelievable. The beer is cheaper than Coca-Cola. It is ridiculous. But what can I say? It is Europe. What are you going to do? It's all I can say. So the Norwegian Sun, we're going to have to keep an eye on her to see what her game plan is between now and the next few days from now. We'll hear, I'm sure, a lot more. We're finding out that other news from Norwegian now, Pride of America, the ship in Hawaii, they have got problems, staffing problems there. Because the Pride of America ship for Norwegian is a U.S. flagged ship, she has to use U.S. green card holders or Americans as employees. And they cannot bring in a boatload, a 747 load of Filipinos or Indonesians or Indian workers to work in the laundry areas and do the dishes and clean the rooms and all that. No can do. Every employee on that U.S. flagship has to be either an American or a green card holder. Easier said than done. From Hawaii, from LA, might be easier to staff up the ship, but from Honolulu, problem. The ship can normally hold up to 920 staff members. That's the capacity of staff. They're at 550 total staff members on board that ship. They are woefully low. So what's happening is, instead of the ship sailing at 55% capacity, which is what they were hoping it would have, they're down to 40% capacity. They are literally canceling out cruisers that have paid and are waiting to, ready to come out there. They're telling them, don't even bother coming. We're canceling your cruise. We don't have the staff to handle 55% occupancy. We're down to 40% occupancy. And that means there are restaurants closed on board. They've got specialty dining going on a rotation basis. So one night this restaurant's closed, the next night that one is closed, the next night that one is closed. It's a mess. And there's no fixed date. They don't have a date where they can say, by August the 5th, it'll all be looked after. They're scrambling to get people on board the ship. They're having a hell of a time getting qualified staff on board. Remember, if you're an American, you're going to have to live on that ship full time for a contract period, which might be 3 months. I don't know how long. I got to think at least 90 days, which means you don't get to see your mom, your dad, your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your friends Living in Honolulu, you might not see them for a while. Or if they're from on the mainland, you're not seeing them at all. You're stuck in the bowels of a ship working the laundry room. You're not even seeing the outside world. How many Americans do you know that are dying to get a job like that? This is where they're having all kinds of problems. So pre-COVID, they were able to staff up the ship enough, but now post-COVID, with all the job opportunities available, can you imagine in Honolulu itself, if you're an American and you can do restaurant work, where do you want to work in Honolulu? Where do you want to work in Hawaii? Every resort will hire you on an 8-hour shift. You can be home every night. You can go to the movies on your nights off. I mean, hey, and you're getting, full pay plus tips working at a nice resort restaurant. You're not going to go work on a cruise ship cruising around the Hawaii Islands. That's the last place you're going to work. So they're having trouble. Norwegian now, this has been going on for over a month and a half, and it's now extending into August. This is not ending anytime soon. The other trouble that Norwegian has had in the last couple of months, as you might recall, the Norwegian Escape had run aground in, I believe, Dominican Republic, and they ended up getting that ship. They got all the passengers off of that ship once they got the ship off the sandbar, flew everybody home, and then they took that ship back to Port Canaveral, I believe, and they had to repair it, and that took weeks of time to get that fixed up. That's a problem they've had. They also had a problem with the Norwegian Prima. They had to cancel cruises because of supply chain issues. And now the latest news was the Carnival Viva, which is the sister ship to the Prima, coming out in 2023. They're already canceling its inaugural cruises. Canceled already. They already know now that a year from now, the ship won't be ready. They got all kinds of logistical problems, parts and installation issues, qualified personnel to build out the ship, all kinds of problems. There's shortages everywhere. And one more piece of news that I'll talk to you about right here has to do with Carnival. Carnival Cruise Line has announced in their latest financial disclosures that for the second half of this year, they're trying to get their occupancy levels up to 110% on their cruise ships. Now, as a cruiser, you have to ask yourself, do you want to go on a cruise this fall, this winter coming up, on a cruise ship that's going to be at 110% occupancy, when other cruise lines are clearly between 40 and 60%? It's a question of, will you have to wear a mask on board these ships with 110% occupancy? Will there be distancing problems? Will there be issues with the dining times? Are they going to start dining at 4 in the afternoon until 8 at night or 9 at night? And you got to hope that you can get a time that you want. 110% occupancy, this is supposed to be situation normal. I don't know if it's going to be situation normal. There's already all kinds of issues now that we're hearing about where people are having trouble just getting to their cruise ships because of flight cancellations all over America with all the airlines. Not uncommon today to hear cancellations of dozens and dozens of flights every day because of staffing issues with American airline operators, the carriers. Delta, United, American, Alaska, Southwest, they're having pilot shortages, flight attendant shortages, baggage handling, airport staff, shortages everywhere. And it's just a nightmare this year. And more people want to go on a holiday. They want to travel by air. And I'm sure a lot of people have wanted to go on a cruise, but apparently the latest news from some of the cruise lines is that in the first few months of this year, the cruise lines had no trouble filling up their ships up to 60% capacity, no problem. Now, in the last few months, they've tried to run that up to 80%, and now we hear Carnival wants to go to 110%. They can't do it. They're not able to get enough passengers to bite because the cost of a cruise had been rising dramatically, just like everything else in our lives, rising dramatically. And so now the problem is that cruise lines are starting to offer deals to entice people to come on board the ship. I'm thinking to myself, you want to give me a drink package? You want to give me an internet package or a free gratuity package to get on a ship for the second half of this year? And I know that when I get on the ship, it's at 110% capacity. I'm just not interested. I don't want to be that packed in with that many people with all the variants going on right now. Even though, you have to have a negative test, I'm not too confident about being on a ship that heavily packed in. So interesting stuff coming out. I did hear earlier today too that cruise lines have borrowed over $100 billion to stay open through the 2-year pandemic. And the cruise lines are finding out now that their Wall Street bankers are telling them, look, in 6 months, 15 billion of that 100 billion has to be refinanced. It's coming due. And then in a year from now, another 15 billion. And a year and a half from now, another 15 billion will have to be turned over because all they're doing is paying just the interest on the money. They're not paying off the principal. They're just paying the interest. The interest that cruise lines were being charged was 3.5% to 4.5% a year ago. Now, every time they borrow, they're now looking at 6.5% to 8.5%. And the rumor is that starting 6 months from now, cruise lines might be looking at 9.5% to 11.5% interest charges on rolling over their debt. There's 100 billion of it coming up. Interest rates aren't going to go straight back down to zero in 6 months once they top out. They're not going to top out for another year, and they're going to stay there a couple of years, and then we'll see what happens. So in reality, this $100 billion of debt is going to mature up, has to be rolled over at these high rates before the rates begin to crawl back down. And there's no guarantee the rates will ever go back to 1 or 2 or 3% again. They might stop at 4 or 5. And so cruise lines are coming up to a hard reality, and that is that they might be carrying 4 percentage points or 5 percentage points more interest per year on the 100 billion they borrow. And that is $4 to $5 billion of added expenses for the 3 big cruise lines per year. On top of that, oil is $109 in Texas right now. That's way higher than it was 2 years ago during the beginning of the pandemic. Wages, much higher. The cost of getting staff to the ships, the food you have to put on the ships. You know the prices you're paying at your grocery store. Just think about the cruise lines' costs for food that they got to buy. It's all gone up dramatically. Straight across the board, every charge that the cruise lines have jumped dramatically in the last 3 to 6 months. Interest rates are no exception. And they're trying to go to 110% for one very good reason. They're trying to break even. The problem is that if you don't book a cruise with that kind of capacity level, or you don't pay the price that they're asking, they're not going to get to 110%, which means they will lose money. They will not be in a profit position. And so if a cruise line like Norwegian has 700 million bucks in the bank in cash, and they're going to bleed 100 million a month for the next while, that's 7 months. They're going to run out of money in 7 months. If Carnival has $2 billion cash on hand and they bleed 100 million a month, they got 20 months. They got to raise additional cash to keep alive, or they got to get the numbers up, either higher charges per person or more people on the ship at a time to make up for it. So they're going to be promoting deals left, right, and center to try to get people to go cruising desperately. And so this is the big question in front of the cruise lines, in front of investors of cruise shares, what to do. Do you buy into cruise ship stock, or do you hold off and you stay back? Because these guys could be bleeding money for another 2 years. They may have to borrow another 15 billion additional cash on top of the 100 billion at 9, 10, 11% interest. I don't know if the bankers will keep lending them. That's the question. Now, if you are a banker and you've got Carnival as your client, and you've already helped them borrow $40 billion, $50 billion, do you tell them that you're going to cut them off? Because if you do lend them another 5 or 7 billion, they're good for another 2 years for eventual recovery, we hope. But if you don't lend them another 5 billion, you're putting them into possible Chapter 11 at any time, which jeopardizes your $50 billion you've got with all your pension funds and hedge funds and other institutional investors. All your favorite clients are into this stuff. Something tells me they're going to find him another $5 billion to keep him alive for another couple of years. It's a deep, deep hole that these guys have found themselves in, and to get out is going to take a long, long time. Don't forget, new ships keep coming off the line for these guys. They're still getting new ships that they've ordered. They have to take delivery of them and make payments on them when they take them. So there's that issue too. So we'll find out how many ships will be scrapped this year. Again, will there be more ships taken out of service and sent to Turkey to be cut up into pieces? Will they bring one new ship in and scrap 2 old ones and lay off all those people and only keep half the staff? How does this all work out? There's a lot of questions, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of we don't know what's going to happen, questions going on in the cruise business. In the meantime, it's all happiness, peaches and cream, and we're all singing Kumbaya by the campfire every night as far as the cruise lines are concerned. There's nothing to see here. Everything is fine. And now we'll see what's going on. I don't know. I'm worried. Sharon says, this only makes me feel better, she says, about the Pride of America. Because we were supposed to sail on her the next spring, but I chickened out and canceled the cruise. Hey, how much did that Coke cost? There you go. This one right here cost me $1.70 Swiss francs. It's about $1.65 US. So, $2.25 Canadian. More than I would spend at home. But if I bought the small bottles at the rail station across the street, this amount of cola would run me 10 francs minimum, maybe 12. So I'm saving money. Sharon, we're just going to fly to Honolulu in the fall and stay there for 5 nights. I was worried about flying all that way and having trouble with the cruise, COVID testing, whatever. I hear you. At this point in my life, I will either fly somewhere or cruise, but combining both is just too stressful right now. Good point. Dave Young, question. I work in a hotel. Tell me, how is this cruise ship going to fill at 110%? Will there be people on rollaway beds in the atrium? David, so a typical cruise ship will call capacity at, let's say 2,500 people, just to pick a number. But what they don't tell you is when they pull out the couch, they can put 2 people on there. You got mom and dad in the queen size bed. They bring a rollaway in for the kid. There's 3. Some of the inside rooms, they have 2 beds, like 2 single beds on the floor. But then on the wall, they have these fold down cots. Really, those aren't included in the 2,500. So you add up all these added people, and you're adding another 250 people on board the ship. That's how they do it. That's how it's 110%. Sharon, what capacity is Oasis of the Sea sailing at these days? I heard 55, 60% the last time I heard anything, but I don't have anything official for you today. Foxy 313. Hello there, Bruce. It's Foxy speaking, and whereabouts are you now? Because I'm guessing you're not back in Canada. No, we're in Zermatt, Switzerland now. Little town here in the Alpine area in the mountains of Switzerland, the very south of Switzerland. and it is beautiful. The rain has stopped because we hear birds chirping outside again. So we just got through a shower that really drenched this area, but that means there's no dust in the area. So it's all good. It has been spectacular here. Absolutely spectacular. Cheers to all of you around the world joining me today. Let me know if you hit the thumbs up button for us. Please do. Let me know what number you are. When you hit that thumbs up button, tell me what number you are, because I don't know how many thumbs ups we have going on this show right now. And I appreciate all of you. If you're watching on the rerun, also hit the thumbs up for us. I know some of you send me messages later saying, I hit the button, I'm number 106 or 122. We get a lot of thumbs ups after the show goes off the air, and I appreciate all of you helping us out. Let me know what thumbs up number you are. Thank you. Was there any evidence of COVID-19 on your train travel? No. No, in Germany, you have to wear a mask at this point in time. In Britain, I'm trying to remember. In the UK, I'm trying to remember if we were supposed to wear masks or not. That was still May. I don't think so, because I think when we got to the UK in mid-May, all restrictions had been lifted by then. So I think they were good to go. But Germany, you needed to wear the mask. But in Austria and Switzerland, not necessary. And so I would say here in Zermatt, maybe 10% of the people wear masks, just 10%. And you don't see people hacking and coughing and wheezing or anything like that here. I just haven't seen evidence of that. Sharon, by the way, I learned that the big theater show on the Oasis these days is Cats. That's one show I'm happy to miss. Laughing out loud. Jim Thomas, Bruce, I'm number 30 on the one of the Biscuit Boys. Number 30 on the thumbs up. Thank you. Blair Barkley, number 33. Foxy, it's certainly always nice hearing chirpy birds in better weather. Hopefully, if there's still cruises going in 2023, I'll try and take one. Paul Romero, thank you, Paul, for this kind and generous donation to the channel. If I walk into a clinic, I have to pay $179 at some places to travel. But if I say I have symptoms, it's free. So this COVID testing has officially become a joke. I can't argue that. I couldn't agree more. I'll tell you, Paul, Jennifer and I, and Jennifer Jr., we were in Las Vegas earlier this year, March, and we were planning to come back to Canada on the 5th, I think it was, by air. We had to have a test before we could go. And we checked around Las Vegas. We phoned and we checked online. Everywhere you checked out, it was the same price, $149.99, like $150 everywhere. Nobody had it any less. And we ended up getting 3 tests the day before our trip, $149 a piece. Absolute ripoff. It was a 7-minute waiting time. They made $450 off us because we're Canadian and we had to have it. There was no way at that time we couldn't come back to Canada without it. Ridiculous. I agree with you, my friend. Thanks again, buddy. Appreciate that donation. Kate, number 34, thumbs up, Spruce. Greetings from Florida. It's 90 degrees here today. Lovely stuff. I'm glad you're with me from wherever you are around the world. I'm so glad to see you all join us. It's a pleasure to have you with us. Foxy, you asked about the UK. No, we don't have mandatory masks now. They've not been mandatory since January, just to say, yeah, that's what we were figuring. We noticed just before we came over, we didn't have to have a test anymore from Canada. We just had to have the shots. We just had to have the shots. And it worked out perfectly for us. Thank God for that. We were so happy. Sharon, PCR tests here are $179, but we can do antigen tests for Bermuda and our upcoming cruises, and they're $50 each. So I guess a bargain. It's unbelievable. I already believe $9.99 to $20 should be the price. If it's government mandated, it should be government controlled pricing. To leave it to the private sector to gouge, I think is absolutely ridiculous. but it is what it is. And, welcome to 2022, I suppose. I don't know. I can say that now in Vegas, they're crying because all those clinics in Vegas were having a field day with the tourists. I'll tell you something else, though. When Jen and I were in California, in Palm Desert for the winter time, we had visitors come to see us. Our daughter came down once to Phoenix and twice to the desert. And once she came with a boyfriend, once she came with a girlfriend, and once we flew home with her. But in the desert, we could get a test for free. Even in Phoenix, we could get her a test for free. Because she was female, we looked up um, health services for women online. And in Phoenix, they have these nonprofits, health services for women. And they don't ask you where you're from, they don't ask you for your passport. They don't care. They're there for health reasons. Well, testing for COVID, no charge. So we went to the testing center. You stay in the car, you roll down the window. The gal comes up to you with gloves and a full hazmat outfit, and she has the Q-tip. You put up your schnozola. She hands that to our daughter and watches her put it up there, and then she puts it in the vial, snaps the ends off, closes it. The next morning, my daughter had an email. She was negative, no charge whatsoever. And in the desert, at Palm Desert, California, they had testing centers all over the valley, no charge for anyone. No questions asked. Didn't matter where you were from. It didn't matter whether you were from Mexico, Canada, legitimately there on a holiday, you were an illegal immigrant. It didn't matter. This is a health service, and they're not there to judge you or your politics or anything else. They're there to test, to try to help eliminate this killer disease. And so for Jen Jr., we got her to a clinic, and next morning, email, negative. And so that was good enough to get into Canada. Unfortunately for us, we ended up going to Vegas with 5 days to go before, or 4 days to go before we were leaving by air. There were no free testing sites in Las Vegas, not one. We had to pay. It was just so unfortunate and frustrating when you knew 3 hours down the highway it's free. Here you pay. It's ridiculous. Foxy, I think if one goes to the UK, Bruce, you can also fly in unvaccinated. I think without a lot of trouble. Travel rules in the UK have changed since March, just to say. I hear you there. Anyway, there it is. The old testing and everything else going on. I don't know. It's really changed a lot, and I know that going back to Canada, we do not need to have a negative test. We only need to prove that we've been vaccinated, and we have. So we're fine with that. And so for Jen and I, and Jen Jr. will be just fine returning back from Zurich to Canada. No problem at all. And there you have it. That's another day in paradise for us. What can I say? Folks, I want to say thank you for joining me tonight for the big show this week. I really appreciate it. I know these shows have been at different hours and they've been inconvenient and it's not normal. I'm in Europe where it is now 8:13 in the evening. I'm going to say my good nights now to you all and tell you that I appreciate you so much. Look forward to seeing you next week. Those of you watching on the rerun, thank you as always for being loyal followers of this channel. Once we get back to North America, we'll get back to a more normal schedule. But in the meantime, check out this channel. I uploaded a video this morning all about Vienna. Hopefully you've had a chance to see it or check it out right now. Give it a thumbs up if you don't mind. I hope you like it. But keep your eyes open because hopefully later this week, there'll be another video coming on this channel, the beginning of our Switzerland travels. Hopefully you'll enjoy those. And so in the meantime, stay healthy out there and take care of yourselves. Thank you all for your continued support of this channel. I do appreciate it. Thank you, Foxy, for all your kind words. We will enjoy ourselves. Sharon, have a good night. Best to Jen. You take care too. Say hi to everybody over there. Everyone take care of themselves. And next week, I'm going to Italy. I love it. That's going to be great, Foxy. Have a great trip. All of you, take care of yourselves. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next Monday for the sponsor member show, followed by the big show. Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye for now.